Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Time. We are officially here in season 5. It's great to be back. Okay, a couple things before we get started. One, please share this podcast. You never know whose life you're going to save by just sharing the podcast. Two, please leave a review of the podcast on Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening to your podcast from. Please leave a review. It really helps the algorithm. It really helps the podcast, get more noticed and all that good stuff. And third thing, so in the episode description below, we will have the video podcast link. So if you're wanting to watch the video interaction, please click in the episode description below and you will find the YouTube link. And with that being said, let us get started with whatever episode this is going to be, because I don't know what the episode is going to be right now, because this is a pre-recorded intro. Yes. Alrighty, with that being said, welcome to season 5 of Vulnerability Time. Okay. So Dominique is back, special guest Dominique. Dominique, people really wanted you on the All-Star season, but I understand that you were busy. Things came up. You're just everywhere thriving, being successful and stuff like that. But welcome back. How does it feel to be back and to have been requested a lot?
Well, that's news to me. So, I mean, I'm happy to be here, and hopefully, it's as exciting and insightful as last time.
Oh yes, 1000%. Um, Dominique, for the new listeners, folks who are just now tuning in, tell us a little bit about you. You do a lot of presentations. Look, tell us. I'll let you take that over, then we'll start.
Like trying to get my lighting right. Sorry.
No,
uh,
same. Is my lighting right, or do I need to turn the light on?
I think I need to I felt like yours was good. I think I may just
Okay,
need.
I'll turn the when the light was off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. Let me go back to it. Okay, yeah.
Um,
It's a lot easier during the daytime.
let's see. Sorry.
Yes, that's okay, folks. We
Okay.
got to get that lighting right.
I know it's so ghetto. Hold on.
Shut up.
Okay. Oh, goodness.
Shut
Um,
up. First off, face card, isn't it,
oh,
folks? Face card, eyebrows, lipstick, hair. Just your skin is gleaming.
oh, thank you.
Just a
Thank you.
gleam, glam queen. Okay, so yes, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I specialize in, I like to call myself a people and business expert. My background is in learning and development and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I also have a background in mental health. So I currently am the co-founder of Mindful Bridges, and it's where we really focus on dismantling systems through the lens of DEI and psychology. So we take um, let's say, learning and development modules like relationship intelligence, collaboration, and we
Let
bring
me write
in
that down.
yeah,
Relationship
we bring in
intelligence.
psychology components of like childlike thinking, cognitive behavior, and how that impacts your workplace. So,
Hmm.
yeah, my jam is really looking at things from a system thinking standpoint because everything we do is through a lens of systems. There's a process through everything.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Preach. Tell us a little bit about the wine, the presentations that you do. There's also like people can come and enjoy wine tasting while you present um, phenomenal information to folks. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so again, I've been in this world for a very long time, and I think that people can have fun while learning. So, my
Yes.
style is very collaborative, very participant facing engagement is really important. So the last event I did was like a wine tasting event mixed with like relationship talk. So we talked about gender wars, attachment styles, and kinks and
Ooh.
fantasies. And of course, we saved,
Kinks and fantasies. We got to
yeah,
talk about it. Yep.
I know. And, we saved that for the end because now everybody got all their wine tasting in. They kind of feeling loose, you know what I'm saying? So it
We
all
did.
comes out.
Yes.
People feel comfortable. So that was really popular. I've done workshops for career development. So again, my approach is a little different. I actually have people bring in their resumes and we do redlining together. We craft a resume in a workshop. And our next one is called the Unmasked Leader, which we talk about what it feels like to always be kind of like in the spotlight and always have to lead. And you kind of turn robotic. You turn into this like, mechanic way, and we lose inside of what it means to be authentic. And so it's really teaching individuals mindfulness practices while also implementing the incentives or goals that they have within themselves and their team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are
That's
just a few.
an episode right there. Boom. Episode over. Boom. Mic drop. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, we
Shut
do.
up.
Hmm.
Oh, Dominique, that is amazing. And I love that you're able to incorporate, like you said, like wine tasting,
Hmm.
something also for people to, enjoy, have fun while they, while they learn and
Yeah.
hear, listen, and talk. Um, and then the relationship intelligence, I wrote that down. I'm going to look more into that because I know about emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
but relationship intelligence. So, folks, our topic today is going to be on control. But I do want to hear your input on something because I remember last season we had hit on relationships, because you know a lot in that area. You're very well educated in that area. Um, and so this is something that I was spending time with myself, self-reflecting, spending time with my higher powers, Holy Spirit, universe, God, every higher power, right? Um, and something that I thought about, and this is a unique way of seeing it. It's like information was like downloaded into me. Okay. Um, because I do a lot of self-reflecting. Um, is when someone enters a relationship, they're they have children in a relationship. And by that that means there's that inner child.
Okay.
Yeah, within the relationship. And oftentimes that inner child eventually comes out and it can come out in a multitude of ways, ways that it needs healing or hasn't healed. But that is just such a profound statement and idea that came to my head is that when two people are in a relationship or when there is a relationship, especially romantically, I'm talking romantically, how about that? Romantically, there's automatically a child.
I think another way to look at it is like this common language of attachment styles. Um, that's kind of where it's rooted from, right? It's rooted from your
Mm,
upbringing, your experiences, how you were nurtured growing up, your relationship in your home, whether it was your biological parents or your guardian, or community, right? That all impacts our attachment to closeness, to vulnerability, to love, to family. And so the best way to kind of explore that is to understand what is your idea of closeness, and how do you get attached and how do you show up? Because that's usually rooted in experience. And I think that's what you're talking about when you're alluding to that inner child.
mm,
And there you can start unleashing like the trauma and what you need to feel secured and safe.
mm.
But it's definitely a journey.
You about to make me shout. You gotta ease that wisdom up. You just gave it to us. What? I'm like literally fangirling inside right now. You just oh my gosh. Dominique. I mean, no wonder you were like extremely requested. And I told folks I was like, she's gonna come back. I promise. I promise. I
Oh, that's
promise.
sweet.
She may not come back when we want her to, but she's gonna come back when it's needed. When it like we may not get something when we want it, but we will get it when we need it. That
Yeah,
there you go. That's
very
what I
true.
said. Yes. So and this is the perfect season because this is the last season before I go back to basics, right? Um I'm gonna go back to the basics of season one, season two, um, for next season, which will be season six. So, but before we get on control, folks, since we're already talking about, self awareness, self reflection, wise statements, I mean, just the amount of profound wisdom that Dominique was just giving us. Um, uh, Self awareness is important. So, folks, I'm childish. Folks, go ahead and get my new book. It is now on Amazon as of April 20th, 2024. Um, it's called Wounds into Wisdom, a self-awareness interactive journal notebook with prompts. If you need some self-awareness, if you want to learn yourself, if you think you already know a lot about yourself, I'm telling you, you will learn to you are worthy of all of the understanding that you can give to yourself. You will learn to love more and more of your inner child, your present self. And it's interactive. I love that. There's some very wise, thought provoking prompts in here. And there's even spaces where you can, doodle or, draw anything symbolic to what you stated in your prompt and you conversate with yourself. You learn it's just amazing. Yeah, it's very healing. So go ahead and get my book, folks. Once again, it's in the episode description below. So I'm really proud of this one. This is the second book I've ever published, and this one I'm really proud of this one. Um, and stuff like that. Okay, Dominique, control. When I asked if you would come bless us and grace us on this podcast again, you know, um, you picked out the topic of control. Why control? Why did you want to talk about that?
Why did I choose that topic?
Yes, let's talk about it.
Um, I feel like it's a very common issue that a lot of people are unaware of. Um, Again, rooted in a lot of things. And I thought it would be cool to just, you know,
Yeah,
unleash it, unreveal it.
yeah,
Yeah, I like complex topics. So,
yes, yes. It brings about critical thinking, and critical thinking
yeah.
is very important to growth. They go hand in hand. Um, Something about control is, and that seems to be the theme of season five, which is this
Mm.
season, is um letting go of control. Um, for example, for me, something that I've always struggled with, right, is control. Um, my struggle it wasn't controlling people, not at all, thankfully. It was controlling circumstances. And like you mentioned, childhood is very important. So growing up, I had no choice but to control. Out of all the trauma that was going on around me, the only way I could protect myself was control. And Eventually, when things in my life got safe, when they got healthier, when I started healing, therapy, medicine, self-awareness, talking to people, you know, school, I no longer needed to have control. So that that power in my hand of having control, it used to serve me, now it no longer serves me. So because my whole life, um, all of my childhood, I've been in control. I had to have control, not of people, but of my circumstance to make sure that I don't get hurt again, right? From like abuse, right? Um, so it became when it was time to let it go, I didn't know how to let it go. So what I had to do was I couldn't get over it. I had to grow through it. I had to learn from it, learn with it. You know what I mean? Thank it for doing its best to protect me. Now I no longer need it. So, so that is something that I finally, when I say finally, it took my attempt for me to finally let go or of um it's like I had no choice but to let go of control. Um and I'm not I don't I see control for me personally, how I seen it in my life. Um I seen it as my hero and it served its time. It's kind of like expired milk, right? Like it has its time where it's going to have its benefit. Like at least for me. Um It had control had its time, just like milk. It has its time where it's beneficial for me. Um, Eventually it hits an expiration day, right? And sometimes you can drink milk a day or two after. Sometimes you can't, but sometimes you can. Um, Now, if you drink it a week or two after, we're gonna have some issues. You're gonna get sick. Drink it a year or two after, you're gonna probably be dead. So I'm using this metaphor um, to help symbolize, and bring more context to what control has meant to me. Um, Especially it. So yeah, that's how control was. It served its purpose. It had an expiration date. I kept drinking it. I didn't know how to stop, but I kept drinking it a day or two after the expiration date. Cool, you know what I mean? A week or two, a year or two, and now it started damaging me. And I wanted to have control because it's also a place where I felt like there was like I had some type of power coming from a childhood where I had no power necessarily. And I've seen people who've had control or who have power, and I've seen it abused. And so I wanted to make sure that I can hold on to, even if it's false sense of power, I'd rather hold on to quote unquote nothing than nothing. Um, and I'm just like, at least I know that this control and this power won't be abused, because I couldn't trust it in other males' hands because I've only seen it be used for abuse, and men have had control over me growing up, and so my relationship with control was not always the best. Um, yeah.
Yeah, you said a lot there. Thank you for, sharing your story with control and, getting a little bit of insight of your world. I think a lot of people can definitely relate. You said a few things. One of the things that I wanted to highlight was control is subjective, right?
Mm,
There were a lot of things that you said from control was good for me to control was bad for me, right? So control is like a spectrum. I think
mm. Write that
in
down.
I think in our last session we briefly talked about like walls, right? Boundaries. and people can weaponize those. And reality is sometimes it is okay, right? And so what we need to be aware of is when it's not okay, when it is hindering us, when we're operating in survival versus a boundary, right?
That's right. I remember you talking
Uh,
about that.
yeah. And so, a lot of situations that we try to control are due to the fact that we are trying to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and or the environment, right? It's rooted in a belief system, and
Mm-hmm.
it's through the lens that we see things. And sometimes some of those things will never change. If you have OCD, if you if you can't have a smell because it may cause a trigger, those are all relevant, right? It's being able to have the awareness of the things that you need to control and where they stem from and how they're impacting the environment around you.
Yes. Writing that down. That's the advertisement soundbite right there. Write that down. That's why I was looking down. I was like, oh, we are getting this down. You, yeah, Dominique, where does all this wisdom come from? I'm just curious. I'm sure it's a multitude of things, but if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. One, I believe it's my superpower. I think this is what I was gifted with, and I'm very grateful. Um, Also, again, I've been in people development for a long time. I like to challenge myself. I like to learn. Um, but yeah, a lot of it is just being open-minded, hearing, being willing to shift. I'm healing myself. You can't help people if you don't help yourself, you know?
Yes.
So it's a journey, it's an ongoing journey, you know?
Yeah. In the realm of control, how do you see that show up in your life? Or when's the last time that control has shown up?
Sure.
Extremely, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was married.
Boom. And has it ever affected you positively and or negatively? There we go.
So I was married about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And it wasn't the best situation. In fact, the healing process for me was forgiving myself, of feeling gullible, of feeling played, of natural feelings of separation, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't necessarily the loss of this person, it was not trusting the red flags or trusting yourself, right?
That's
And
beautiful.
so that healing journey allowed me to find my voice and trust myself. However, I did not allow vulnerability to come into my life. For other
Mm,
people, sure, I'm phenomenal. Okay, I could give you the best advice. I could be very empathetic. I'm an open book. But as soon as you say, Dominique, I want to be with you, I want to date you, I was like, oh, wow, this is awkward. Because,
mm,
well, thank you. And so a lot of my role was I dated, and I still struggle with this, a lot of introverted, not confrontational people who avoided deep conversations. And our relationship would be great. We would have a blast. We would talk about everything, but none of us would bring up next steps. And so,
mhm.
I had to recognize that that was actually me protecting myself. And also, it was an unhealed version of me. Though I may
Mm.
not mourn that relationship, I had to accept that I had trust issues. I had vulnerability issues. And coming from somebody who is so hyper aware of emotions, of relationships. It's like, what do you mean? I'm educated. No, I got this, right?
I
Um,
can feel that.
being able to release that control and sometimes being too educated, you can read into a
Yes.
lot. You can read into a lot and it can mess up your mind, right?
Yes.
So I am currently learning how to get out of the cycle of comfort in relationships where I don't have to get where I'm not going too deep because one, I'm fearful of being deceived again and wasting my time. I'm also fearful of getting hurt. Um, so yeah, I had to acknowledge I was controlling a lot of my relationships and they were all superficial. They were great people. I mean, because I didn't tolerate a lot,
Mhm.
my dating experience has been amazing. But there was a wall, but that wall was not healthy. That wall was preventing me and will prevent me if I don't address it from potentially meeting my person.
Yeah. Yeah. You said multiple things that stood out to me.
Mhm.
I'm getting teary-eyed. I know you can't tell because the lighting, but I'm literally getting teary-eyed. If I start crying, tears are welcomed here.
Yes.
Something that ooh, I came prepared this time. I cried on last episode that I recorded earlier today, but I came prepared this time. I got me some
Yeah.
napkins. Um, Something that I realized recently, and because of what you just shared, it it gave me the courage to share what I'm about to share. So I realized like the other day, and by the other day I mean like a couple weeks ago, right? Um, I realized that, and this is just me. This is just me. You mentioned introverted, right? Introverted guys. So I realized for me that I was like, why am I so attracted to introverted guys? Like, why, I realized the other day, aka the other week, a couple weeks ago, that that is an that is because that is a response for me wanting control. Because I will control the conversation because I can talk and he will just listen because he's quiet, even if he wants to say something. And I realized, and I'm just like, oh, it was just like, see, control. There's so many things that we don't even realize
Yeah.
sometimes that can just manifest in many, even the smallest ways in
Mhm.
our lives. Um, that's why I had no clue up until 2 weeks ago. Up until 2 weeks ago, that is why I'm so and am still so attracted towards introvert guys. However, will I date an introvert guy? No, I won't because I don't think that that's gonna help me heal. I think that I'm going to dominate conversation again. Um, because they're obviously going to be like really quiet. You know what I mean? I I just don't. I don't know. I think ideally I would think, because I'm not settling for anything less
You
than what I'm about to
should.
say. eh, right? Period. Um, I want my husband, whoever he is, I want him I want to be able to be around him and grow. You know what I mean? Let's help each other grow. So he's I'm thinking, at least right now, I'm thinking that he's gonna be an extrovert, something that I'm not used to, and that of course it will make me feel uncomfortable. But I also know that there's a difference between uncomfortable and unsafe. There's growth in the uncomfort, so I know that that will help me, relinquish control, and lay down my weapons.
Yeah. I think that you can actually find good in your type. I don't think there's nothing wrong with being attracting what you attract as long as it doesn't cause no harm, right? We are both extroverted personalities. And so it actually makes sense that we attract introverts. Now, the key component is it's not running away from what we attract, it's facing it and being hyper aware of how we're showing up in those relationships. And one thing that I've recognized is that I've dated an extrovert and I've dated an introvert. And I thought it would be nice to date an extrovert similar to me, but I don't think it really did. But, well, it comes down to the personality. I think it comes down to your awareness of how you communicate and how you allow each person to show up. I would probably date an introvert. I found that I love me a silent alpha. And I used to think
Yeah.
that I used to
Yes.
think that,
Beautiful.
I'm Afro Latina, so I was raised a quiet man as a weak man. Um,
Mm,
and over time, I'm like, heck no. A quiet man does not equate to a weak man. A quiet man that knows time and place and when to say something and how to say something is the most powerful man there is. And so, I had to ask myself, was it the introvert personality or were we both just emotionally unavailable? And
mm,
also understanding that maybe that quiet person just needs to feel safe. And you have to provide that space and ask the right questions to get what you want out of them, right? So it's challenge that relationship can actually challenge you to shut up,
mm.
not
Yes.
challenge, to ask questions and still be yourself.
Mm,
There's plenty of introverted personalities that I've dated that love my extrovertedness. That they'd be like, you know what, Dominique, I'm good with being in the back. You go ahead and network, do what you need to do. I'm here as you need me, you know?
mhm,
But when it came down to the logistics, planning dates, taking care of me or whatever, they handle that. But from the outside looking in, it may be perceived that I am the leader, but reality is that it has nothing to do with introverted or extroverted. It has to do with what type of leader you are. And most effective leaders don't have to be seen. They're behind the scenes.
you, you are wisdom. You okay? That makes me think. That gives me a whole different perspective and way of looking at it. And so when I do some self-reflecting tonight before I go to bed, which I will be doing in my self-awareness interactive journal notebook, I will. I love it. Um, there's actually a couple prompts in there that actually go kind of along those lines. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I think you might have helped um, fast forward my healing. Hmm.
Yeah, there's something wrong with comfort. I found that due to my trauma, I like those calm personalities. It actually brings the softness out of me versus being with a extroverted personality. It doesn't make me feel good. So it's okay to lean in and on the good, uh,
Mm,
but don't box yourself. Just because they're introverted, it doesn't mean, you can dominate. The right
mm,
person will be able to stand up for themselves. And also, you
right,
have to learn how to not dominate. That's not somebody else's problem, it's yours.
right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that humbled me. Yes, I feel held accountable. I love accountability. That's the only way I grow. Oh, I feel a lot better now. Let me tell you that because I feel a lot better.
Good.
Sorry, I'm just thinking right now.
No,
That is
it's
wisdom.
okay.
Luckily, I get to go back and re-listen to this episode over and over and over again before it releases. So I'm definitely going to be taking notes and writing stuff. I started to write stuff. There's too much wise stuff in here. So I was just like, I'll just rewatch it back. I'm going to be tuned into this conversation. Oh my goodness. Dominique, thank you for, first of all, being vulnerable and sharing. Vulnerability is victory. Honesty equals healing. Um, Progress over perfection. Um, uh, Before we um head out, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I just want to emphasize, know the difference between boundaries and control, and also honor other people. Some of these things are in place due to many reasons. It's our job to dissect them, but also honor them.
Hmm.
So, as don't be scared to face it, because that's the only way we'll know if it's healthy or not.
Mic drop. Mic drop. Dominique, I'm literally speechless and I'm tearing up again. I'm literally speechless. That's right. I got these napkins. I'm waiting for these tears. I wasn't prepared earlier today, but I'm prepared now. Okay. I'm literally speechless, and that's a good thing, trust me. Okay. Alrighty, folks. Dominique, thank you for coming back on this podcast. Um, Thank you for coming back on this podcast. We love to see you, and I can't wait to see you again, you Puerto Rican queen. Me and Dominique, we're both half Puerto Rican, or we're both black and Puerto Rican. There we go. So that's really cool. We love Puerto Rican. I love it. I love it. Um, Alrighty, folks. There is a pre-recorded outro. So Dominique, just say bye. We couldn't hear that. Can you
Oh,
re-say it? We couldn't hear it. We couldn't hear your bye.
bye, y'all.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Before we end the video, I would love to announce, and I am proud to announce that my second book is available now on Amazon. It is called Wounds into Wisdom: Self-Awareness Interactive Journal Notebook with Prompts. If you love learning about yourself, if you want to, go into more self-awareness, if you want to talk to your inner child, if you want to just talk to yourself and, you know, uh, find out new things, this journal notebook with prompts is for you. It is interactive. It has spaces where you can, doodle or draw anything that symbolizes, the prompt. Um, you are able to interact and conversate with these prompts in the journal notebook. And it also has space at the end for you to just journal if you would like to just journal. But yes, these prompts in the book are very wise and thought provoking. Um, it will make you think, I have never thought about that before. I did not recognize that in my life until now. These will blow your mind. These will drop your jaw in a good way. In a good way. But yes, the link to purchase the book is on Amazon. The link will be in the episode description below. Also, thank y'all so much for making it to the end of this episode. I challenge you to send this podcast to at least one person. You never know whose life you are going to save by sending this podcast because they might send it to someone else who really needed to hear it, and that person's life will be saved. Because remember the point of this podcast, um, in general, vulnerability time is what if someone's on their way home to end their lives, but because they listened to a special guest or to me, because they listened, they decide to live, even if it's just a little bit longer. This is a life-saving podcast, folks. And yeah, thank y'all so much. And I will see y'all next time for whatever episode that will be, because this is a pre-recorded outro. Already love y'all tons. Stay amazing. I'm proud of you for still breathing on this earth.